I had always believed in the power of trust. Trust was everything to me. It's what held my relationships together, whether with friends, family, or love. For 4 years, I built a life with Jake, my boyfriend. We met at 18, right after high school. Back then, everything was new, everything felt exciting. The world was open, and we were young and full of dreams. Jake was charming, funny, with that irresistible smile that could light up a room. He was everything I thought I wanted in a partner, and I felt lucky to have him by my side. We spent hours talking about everything, our hopes, our fears, our dreams for the future. We shared inside jokes, laughed at the dumbest things, and supported each other through life's ups and downs. Jake was my first real love, and I was convinced that he would be my last. We were inseparable, like we were meant to be together forever. The first 3 years of our relationship were perfect, or at least that's what I thought. We had a deep connection that seemed unshakable. He was sweet, thoughtful, and always there when I needed him. Sure, he had his quirks, like anyone, but I chalked those up to youthful immaturity. I assumed he would grow out of them over time. Jake had a close-knit group of friends. They would hang out, playing video games, drinking beer, and just being guys. I never minded. I had my own friends, and I respected his need for space. Trust was something I believed in fully, and I had no reason to doubt him. He had never given me a reason to feel insecure or worried. He would always talk about how loyal his friends were, about the bond they shared. It felt nice, like we were all part of this close, supportive circle. But as time went on, little things started to change. At first, I didn't think much of it. I brushed it off as him just being busy with work or life in general. But then it became clear that something was off. He started to act more distant. He became secretive about his phone. If I asked him who he was texting or what he was looking at, he'd snap at me, saying it was nothing. It wasn't that he was doing anything wrong. At least, I didn't think so. But I couldn't help but feel something had shifted. One evening, while we were sitting on the couch together, I noticed Jake acting strange. He was on his phone, laughing at something, and when I asked him what was so funny, he just said, "It's just a meme." But his eyes were too shifty, his tone too off. I told myself that I was probably overthinking it, that it was nothing. But deep down, something felt wrong. A few weeks later, it got worse. Jake's behavior became more erratic. He would constantly check his phone, looking over his shoulder as if he was trying to hide something. It was unlike him. My gut told me something was wrong, but I kept ignoring it. Maybe I was just being paranoid. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I was losing him in small, subtle ways. The person I had trusted so completely was starting to slip through my fingers. It all came to a head one night when we went out with some mutual friends to a small bar. It was supposed to be a fun, casual evening, just a few drinks, some laughs, and good company. But from the moment we arrived, I could tell Jake wasn't himself. He was distracted, constantly glancing down at his phone, tapping away at something with his head lowered. I tried to ignore it at first, telling myself it was probably nothing. But the longer the night went on, the more I felt like there was something important going on beneath the surface. Jake went to the bathroom, leaving his phone on the table. In that moment, I don't know what came over me, but I felt compelled to look. I shouldn't have. I knew I was invading his privacy, but in that split second, I couldn't resist. The notification on his phone caught my eye, a message from a group chat. My heart skipped a beat when I saw the words. "Damn, Jake's girl is fire. You're lucky, bro." It was a gut punch. What did that even mean? I told myself it was probably just some stupid comment, something harmless. But my curiosity got the best of me. I clicked on the chat, and everything changed in that instant. What I saw made my stomach twist into a knot. Jake had sent several intimate photos of me, photos that I had taken for him, in the privacy of our relationship, photos I had explicitly told him I didn't want anyone else to see. These were moments I had trusted him with, moments I thought were just between us. And now, they were being shared in a group chat with his friends. I scrolled down further, and my heart sank even lower. The comments from his friends were disgusting, objectifying me as if I were nothing more than a piece of meat. They spoke about my body like it was theirs to judge, to critique. One of them even made a joke about taking a turn if Jake ever decided to break up with me. I couldn't believe it. Not only had he violated my trust, but he had also turned my most vulnerable moments into a joke, something to be passed around among his friends. I felt sick to my core. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely hold the phone steady. I couldn't breathe. Everything I had believed in, everything I had trusted, had just been shattered. This wasn't just a simple mistake. This was a betrayal that cut deeper than I could have ever imagined. Just as I was processing the pain, Jake came back from the bathroom. When he saw my face, he immediately knew something was wrong. "What are you doing on my phone?" he snapped, his voice defensive, like he was already preparing for a fight. I didn't care anymore about invading his privacy. I had to know the truth, and now I had it. I didn't even let him speak. "What the hell is this?" I demanded, holding up the phone to show him the messages and photos. Jake's face went pale for a moment, then quickly turned defensive. "It's not a big deal," he said, brushing it off as if I had just found some silly meme instead of the cruel violation of my trust. "It's just jokes. All guys do it. All guys do it." The words hit me like a slap. All guys do it. This wasn't normal. This wasn't a harmless joke. He had taken something intimate and turned it into entertainment for his friends without any regard for how I felt. And now he was trying to gaslight me, make me feel like I was overreacting, like I was the one who was wrong. My anger flared, mixing with the pain. I stood up, grabbed my coat, and walked out of the bar. Jake tried to follow me, shouting after me, but I didn't care. I couldn't be around him anymore, not after what he had done. By the time I got home, I was shaking uncontrollably, torn between rage and disbelief. I felt violated, humiliated, and more alone than I had ever felt in my life. For the next 2 days, I couldn't stop crying. The tears came in waves, sometimes quietly, sometimes in violent sobs. I felt every inch of betrayal deep in my bones. It wasn't just the pictures, those were painful enough, but it was everything that came with it. The years of trust, the promises, the shared dreams. I had given him pieces of my heart, and he had taken them and turned them into something ugly. And in that moment, the shame wasn't just his, it was mine too. I felt so stupid for believing in him, for loving him with everything I had. My mind was racing in circles, thinking about how I could have missed the signs, how I could have been so blind. But after the tears began to dry, something else started to emerge, something much stronger than sadness. It was determination. I wasn't going to let Jake or his disgusting friends get away with this. I wasn't going to let them turn my most intimate moments into a joke. They had violated me and humiliated me, and now I was going to make sure they understood the gravity of their actions. The first step was getting proof. I already had screenshots of the group chat from Jake's phone, but I knew I needed more. I wasn't going to leave anything to chance. I went through every single message, saving the comments about my photos, the vile remarks from his friends. I made sure I had a record of everything, every photo, every message, every laugh they shared at my expense. I wanted them to feel the weight of what they had done, and I needed to make sure I had everything in place before I did anything. Next, I reached out to the other girls, the ones whose photos had also been sent around. I didn't know all of them personally, but I knew a few through social media. I found them and messaged them, explaining what had happened, telling them that they were a part of the disgusting group chat as well. At first, most of them didn't believe me. Some were in denial, thinking I was just trying to ruin Jake's life or exaggerate the situation. But when I showed them the screenshots, when they saw the messages from Jake's friends and the vile things they had said, their reactions mirrored mine. They were horrified, angry, and just as determined to make sure this didn't slide by. We decided to confront them together. One by one, we made contact with the guys in the group chat, either in person or through video calls. The power in those moments was indescribable. Watching their smug, arrogant faces change as they realized we knew everything was like a weight lifting off my chest. It was validation, it was justice, and it felt damn good. Some of them tried to deny it. Some of them begged for forgiveness, claiming they didn't think it was a big deal, that it was just guy stuff. but I wasn't interested in their excuses. I wasn't interested in hearing them explain away their behavior. There was no forgiveness for what they had done. And then I took it a step further. I wasn't just going to let Jake get away with it. I wasn't going to let him walk away without facing some consequences. So I filed a police report for revenge porn. I knew it might not go anywhere legally. I knew the chances of the case going to court or having any serious consequences were slim. But I wasn't going to let this be something that could just be swept under the rug. I wanted there to be a record of what had happened, what Jake and his friends had done. They had no idea how serious this was going to get. I also contacted Jake's employer. He worked at a small company that had a strict code of conduct. I knew that sending explicit photos without consent was a major violation of company policy, and I wasn't about to let him off the hook just because he thought he could get away with it. I sent the screenshots to the HR department, anonymously, of course. I wasn't trying to make myself a target, but I wanted to make sure the right people knew what he had done. Within a few days, Jake lost his job. The company didn't want to take any chances when it came to issues like this. It was a small victory, but it was something. It was a consequence, and I couldn't deny how satisfying it felt. Jake, of course, tried to reach out to me. He flooded my phone with texts and voicemails. He apologized over and over, claiming he didn't mean to hurt me, that it was a mistake, that he was sorry for the way he treated me. He promised he would never do it again. He begged me to forgive him, to give him another chance. I didn't respond. Not once. I didn't need to hear his apologies. They meant nothing. He had made his choice when he decided to share my intimate photos with his friends, and I wasn't about to let him worm his way back into my life after what he had done. But it didn't stop there. I knew I had to make sure this didn't just end with me. I wanted the other women involved in that group chat to have a voice, too. I reached out to them again, and together, we filed a collective complaint against the group of guys. I wanted them to understand the magnitude of what they had done. I wanted to make sure that if this ever happened again, they would face real consequences, not just from the people they hurt, but from the law as well. It wasn't easy. There were moments when I doubted myself, when I questioned whether I was doing the right thing. But when I looked at everything I had gone through, the betrayal, the humiliation, the pain, I knew there was only one way to respond. I had to take action. I had to stand up for myself, for the other women, and for every person who had ever been disrespected in the same way. Weeks later, Jake tried to reach out to me again, sending endless texts, calling me, leaving voicemails. I blocked him on everything. I didn't want to hear his lies, his excuses. I didn't care about his apologies. He had shown me who he really was, and I wasn't about to forgive that. Eventually, I started to heal. The pain didn't disappear overnight, but it became more manageable. The anger started to fade, replaced with a quiet sense of empowerment. I had taken control of the situation, and I had made sure that Jake and his friends knew the consequences of their actions. But more than anything, I realized something. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about respect. It was about boundaries. It was about understanding that some things, like trust and intimacy, aren't to be taken lightly. And once that trust is broken, there's no going back. In the end, I learned that some people don't deserve your trust, no matter how much you want to believe otherwise. And when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time.